Look, I've seen a lot of strange things in my life, but a woman walking into a Manhattan courthouse in a borrowed wedding dress with a determination to destroy a man she'd never met in person, that was new even for me. Let me set the scene. It's 2:37 p.m. on an ordinary Tuesday in October, and Cassidy Fletcher is standing in front of the mirror in the women's bathroom at the city clerk's office, adjusting a dress that clearly wasn't made for her. The fabric bunches about 2 inches at the waist, held together with bobby pins that will probably give out any minute now. "Are you sure about this?" Her best friend Marin is leaning against the sink with that look of someone who knows disaster is coming but can't look away. Cassidy takes a deep breath, applies another layer of lip gloss she doesn't need, and turns to her friend with a smile I can only describe as dangerously calm. "Absolutely. Cass, you're going to marry a complete stranger just to destroy the reputation of the man who destroyed my father's career?" Cassidy interrupts, tucking the gloss into her tiny purse. "Yes, that's exactly what I'm going to do. Between you and me, I thought it was insane when I first heard the plan too. Here's the story. 3 months ago, Cassidy's father was fired from the investment firm where he'd worked for 22 years. The official reason? Restructuring. The real reason, he refused to sign documents that would legitimize a pretty creative tax evasion scheme. Who orchestrated his firing? Marcus Hale, one of the youngest and most ambitious partners at the firm. Now, Marcus has a problem. He needs a green card urgently. And like any desperate billionaire, he did what any sensible person would do: hired an agency that specializes in marriages of convenience. What he didn't expect? That Cassidy Fletcher, a 28-year-old freelance graphic designer with zero experience in elaborate revenge, would manage to hack the agency system and replace the original candidate. Yes, you heard that right. She hacked it. Well, technically her cousin hacked it, but the details don't matter right now. "And after you marry him," Marin insists, crossing her arms, "what's the plan, Cass? You're going to live with this guy, pretend to be his wife, and document every suspicious move he makes?" Cassidy checks her phone. "I have 3 months to collect enough evidence and hand everything over to the FBI. Immigration will cancel his green card, the company will fire him for marriage fraud, and he'll understand what it's like to lose everything because of someone who underestimated you." Look, I admire the confidence, but we need to talk about the elephant in the room. Cassidy has no idea who Marcus Hale really is. "Have you at least seen a photo of him?" Marin asks. "Of course," Cassidy shrugs. "Classic corporate villain style. Expensive suit, perfectly styled hair, smile that says, 'I've never paid my own restaurant check in my life.'" I laughed when I heard that because she was so wrong it was almost painful. They leave the bathroom and walk down the hallway to the room where civil marriages take place. It's all far less romantic than you'd imagine. Institutional beige walls, plastic chairs, and a bored clerk who's seen this movie 1,000 times. And then Cassidy sees him. Marcus Hale is standing near the window, looking at his phone, with an expression I can only describe as deeply annoyed with his own existence. He's wearing a suit, yes, but not in that stiff way she expected. His tie is slightly loose, his sleeves are rolled up to his elbows, and his hair, which should be perfectly styled, looks like he's run his hand through it about 15 times in the last 2 hours. Marin whispers, "That's him." Cassidy doesn't answer, because at that exact moment, Marcus looks up from his phone and stares directly at her. And here, my friends, is where things start to get interesting. He doesn't smile, doesn't wave, just tilts his head slightly, as if evaluating whether she'll actually show up or run away. And there's something in his eyes, maybe exhaustion, that doesn't match at all with the ruthless corporate villain image Cassidy built in her head. "You must be Cassidy," he says, crossing the room. His voice is lower than she expected, less arrogant. "And you must be Marcus." She extends her hand, firm, professional, as if closing a business deal, not starting a fake marriage to ruin his life. He shakes her hand and for a second, just 1 second, frowns slightly, as if something doesn't make sense. "You look," he hesitates, "different from the photos." Ah, so he noticed. Cassidy smiles with all the sweetness she can fake. "It's the lighting. I never photograph well in document photos." Natural-born liar, this woman. The court clerk calls them both, and they position themselves in front of the tiny desk where the justice of peace will perform the most lackluster ceremony in the Western Hemisphere. "Did you bring witnesses?" the judge asks, bored. Marin raises her hand timidly. On Marcus's side, a tall guy with glasses who's clearly a lawyer also raises his hand. "Great, let's begin." And then the strangest thing happens. The moment the judge starts speaking, Marcus leans imperceptibly toward Cassidy and whispers so low only she can hear, "You're not who's supposed to be here, are you?" Cassidy freezes. Every muscle tenses.
And her body locks up. But before she can respond, before she can process how the heck he figured it out, Marcus continues, looking straight ahead, face completely neutral, and adds, "Relax, neither am I." This story wasn't going to be about simple revenge. It was going to be about two people pretending to be who they're not, each with their own reasons, trapped in a fake marriage neither of them planned properly. The judge asks for the rings. Marcus pulls out a small box from his pocket. Simple band, discreet, probably chosen by his lawyer in 15 seconds at some random jewelry store. Cassidy didn't bring a ring because obviously she didn't bring a ring, but Marcus, without missing a beat, looks at his lawyer and nods. The guy, clearly used to solving last-minute problems, takes his own ring off his finger and hands it to Cassidy. "You'll need to return it later," the lawyer murmurs. "Obviously," Cassidy responds, sliding the ring onto Marcus's finger with hands that tremble just a little. When it's his turn to put the ring on her, Marcus holds Cassidy's hand for a second longer than necessary and looks into her eyes with an intensity that makes her stomach flip. "I do," he says when the judge asks. "I do," she repeats, and her voice comes out firmer than she expected. "By the power vested in me by the state of New York, I now pronounce you husband and wife." No kiss, no applause, just Marin sniffling quietly in the corner and the lawyer checking his phone. They sign the documents. Cassidy can barely hold the pen steady because her hands are sweating, but she signs with the most beautiful handwriting she can produce under pressure. When she's done, Marcus takes the papers, folds them carefully, and tucks them into his suit jacket's inner pocket. "So," he says with a half smile that doesn't reach his eyes, "officially married." "Officially," Cassidy confirms. He extends his hand again because apparently they're going to shake hands like business partners after getting married, but then stops mid-gesture, as if remembering something. "Do you have plans for the rest of the afternoon, Mrs. Hale?" The name hits her like a slap. Mrs. Hale. She hadn't thought about that. "Why?" she asks, cautious. "Because we need to talk." He puts his hands in his pockets, casual, but his gaze remains sharp. "Really talk. No witnesses, no lawyers, no judge. About who you really are," Marcus says, turning to leave, "and about the fact that I know exactly why you're here." He walks out of the room before Cassidy can respond. Marin appears beside her, eyes wide. What did he mean by that? Cassidy keeps staring at the door. Marcus disappeared through the strange ring heavy on her finger, and for the first time since she hatched this insane plan, she wonders, what if she's not the only one pretending in this story? Here's what you need to know about Marcus Hale's apartment. It's the kind of place that screams, "I have money, but no time to enjoy it." We're talking floor-to-ceiling windows with a view of Central Park, minimalist furniture that probably cost more than most people's cars, and exactly 0 personal touches. No photos, no books, not even a throw pillow out of place. It's like a hotel suite where someone's been living for 2 years but never bothered to unpack. Cassidy stands in the middle of the living room, still wearing that ill-fitting wedding dress, and I can see her brain working overtime trying to process the last 30 minutes of her life. The drive from the courthouse was silent. Marcus drove a black Tesla that felt like riding in a very expensive coffin, and neither of them said a word. Cassidy kept stealing glances at him, trying to figure out what he meant by, "I know exactly why you're here," and Marcus kept his eyes on the road with that same unreadable expression. Now they're here, alone, married. "You want something to drink?" Marcus asks, loosening his tie completely and tossing it onto the kitchen counter. "Water? Coffee? Something stronger?" "Water's fine," Cassidy says, because her throat feels like sandpaper and she needs to stay sharp. He fills 2 glasses from one of those fancy filtered water dispensers and hands her one. Their fingers brush. She pulls back like she's been shocked. Marcus notices. Of course he notices. "So," he says, leaning against the counter and taking a long drink, "how long were you planning to keep up the act?" Cassidy's grip tightens on the glass. "I don't know what you're talking about." Really, he sets his glass down with a soft clink, because the woman I hired, Veronica Chen, 31, insurance adjuster from Queens, had brown eyes, not green. She was also 4 inches shorter than you, and according to her profile, she had a birthmark on her left wrist. He gestures to Cassidy's wrist. No birthmark. You did your homework, Cassidy says, keeping her voice steady, even though her heart is doing gymnastics. I do my homework on everything, Marcus crosses his arms, especially when I'm paying someone $50,000 to help me stay in the country. 50,000? Cassidy's cousin told her the going rate was 20. Someone was planning to pocket the difference. So what now, she asks. You're going to
Report me? Have the marriage annulled? I should. He studies her with those sharp eyes that miss nothing. But I'm curious. What's your angle here? Money? Are you planning to blackmail me? No. Then what? This is it. The moment where Cassidy either commits fully to the lie or tells the truth. And honestly, I wasn't sure which way she'd go. She takes a breath. You ruined my father's life. Marcus's expression doesn't change, but something flickers in his eyes. Recognition, maybe. Richard Fletcher, Cassidy continues, and wow is her voice cold now. 22 years at Hartwell and Associates. You had him fired 3 months ago. Ah! Marcus straightens up, and for the first time since the courthouse, he looks genuinely interested. You're here for revenge. I'm here for justice. Those aren't the same thing. They are when the system's rigged. Cassidy sets her water down untouched. My father wouldn't sign off on your tax evasion scheme, so you had him erased, like he never mattered, like 2 decades of loyalty meant nothing. My tax evasion scheme? Marcus laughs, but there's no humor in it. Is that what he told you? That's what happened? No. Marcus moves closer, and Cassidy has to fight the urge to step back. That's what you think happened. You want to know the truth? Your father was about to sign off on something that would have sent half the firm to prison. I stopped him. Wait, what? Cassidy blinks. You're lying. Why would I lie? You already think I'm the villain. He runs a hand through his hair, that same gesture from earlier, and suddenly he looks tired, really tired. Richard Fletcher is a good man who got played by people smarter and more corrupt than him. I tried to protect him. The firm fired him anyway because he knew too much. Cassidy shakes her head. That's not, my father wouldn't, your father wouldn't what? Make a mistake? Get manipulated? Marcus's voice softens just slightly. Cassidy, the people at Hartwell are experts at finding honest people and turning their integrity into a weapon. Your father got caught in the crossfire. This isn't how this was supposed to go. Cassidy spent 3 months building this plan, 3 months researching Marcus Hale, convinced he was the enemy, 3 months preparing for this moment, and now he's standing here telling her she got the whole story wrong. You expect me to believe you're the good guy in this? She asks, and her voice cracks just a little. I'm not a good guy, Marcus shrugs. I'm just not the guy you think I am. Silence, the kind that feels like the air before a thunderstorm. Then, Cassidy does something I didn't expect. She laughs. It's sharp and bitter and a little unhinged. This is perfect, she says. I marry a stranger to ruin his life, and it turns out I might have married the wrong stranger. Might have. Marcus raises an eyebrow. I don't trust you. Smart. He picks up his water again. I don't trust you either. You hacked a federal database to replace someone in an immigration marriage. That's multiple felonies. So we're both criminals, Cassidy says flatly. Apparently. Another beat of silence. Outside, the city's doing its thing. Car horns, distant sirens, the general chaos of Manhattan on a Tuesday evening. Inside this apartment, 2 people who just legally bound themselves to each other are trying to figure out if they're enemies, allies, or something more complicated. Marcus breaks first. Here's what I'm thinking. We both need this marriage. You clearly had a plan that involved staying close to me for a while. I need a wife who can convince immigration we're legitimate. So we help each other. Help each other how? You want to know what really happened with your father? I'll give you access to everything. Files, emails, recordings, everything I have on H&A, Hartwell and Associates, and their creative accounting schemes. He pauses. In exchange, you play the part of my loving wife for the next 6 months. We pass the immigration interviews, I get my green card, and you get the truth about what happened to your dad. Cassidy stares at him. And then what? We just get divorced and go our separate ways? Clean break. I'll even throw in the $50,000 you would have gotten as Veronica. It's a good offer. Too good, actually, which is exactly why Cassidy should say no. But I can see the wheels turning in her head. She came here for answers. He's offering them to her on a silver platter. I want to see the files first, she says, before I agree to anything. Marcus pulls out his phone, taps a few times, and then holds it out to her. Check your email. She pulls out her own phone. Sure enough, there's a new message from an encrypted email address. The subject line, Richard Fletcher, Hartwell Investigation. She opens it, scans the first few lines of the attached document. Her face goes pale. She looks up at Marcus. This is a federal investigation. It was, Marcus corrects. It got buried. Hartwell has friends in high places. But you kept copies. I keep copies of everything. He takes his phone back. So, do we have a deal? Cassidy should walk away. Any reasonable person would walk away. But she's already wearing a wedding ring with this man's name on the marriage certificate, and turning back now means admitting the last 3 months of planning were for nothing. Plus, and this is important, she really wants to know what's in those files. 6 months, she says. We convince immigration we're married. You give me full access to the Hartwell files, and when it's over, we walk away clean. Deal. Marcus extends his hand. They shake on it. Formal. Corporate. Closing a business transaction. Not agreeing to fake a marriage while investigating corporate crime. One more thing, Cassidy says, not letting go of his hand yet. If I find out you're lying to me about any of this, you'll what? You're already planning my downfall. Can't get much worse than that. She lets go of his hand. Don't tempt me. For the first time since the courthouse, Marcus actually smiles. It's small and crooked and completely transforms his face. You know what? I think this might actually work. Why's that? Because you're stubborn enough to pull this off. He heads toward the hallway. Come on, I'll show you where you'll be sleeping. Cassidy follows him down a hallway that's just as minimalist as the rest of the place. He stops at a door and pushes it open. Guest room, all yours, he says. Private bathroom, decent closet space. I'll have some of your things brought over tomorrow. Wait, what? Cassidy looks at him. How are you going to have my things brought over? You don't even know where I live. Marcus gives her a look that says, really? Right. He does his homework on everything. That's not creepy at all, she mutters. Welcome to married life, Mrs. Hale. He starts to walk away, then pauses. Oh, and Cassidy, the immigration interview will probably be in about 2 weeks. We should get our story straight before then. Our story? How we met, how we fell in love, all the lies we're going to have to tell very convincingly. He leans against the doorframe. Unless you want to tell them the truth. Hi, I married this guy to destroy him, but then found out I might have the wrong guy. So now we're business partners committing marriage fraud together despite everything. Cassidy almost laughs. When you put it that way, yeah. Marcus pushes off the doorframe. We'll workshop it. Get some rest. Tomorrow we start planning. He disappears down the hallway, and Cassidy is left standing in the doorway of what is apparently her new bedroom for the next 6 months. She walks in, closes the door, and leans against it. Then she looks down at the ring on her finger, the one borrowed from Marcus's lawyer, and the full weight of what she just agreed to hits her. She married a stranger. She's living with him. She's about to help him commit immigration fraud while investigating corporate crime. And somewhere in the back of her mind, a tiny voice whispers, what if he's telling the truth about everything? Cassidy silences that voice, because believing Marcus Hale means accepting that she got this whole thing wrong from the start, and she's not ready for that. Not yet. Outside the guest room, Marcus leans against the wall of his own bedroom and lets out a long breath. That went better than expected. Worse than hoped, somewhere in the middle of completely off the rails. He pulls out his phone and looks at the file he just sent Cassidy. It's real, every word of it, but it's also incomplete. There are pieces of the Hartwell puzzle he didn't include, pieces that involve him more directly than he'd like to admit. Because here's what Cassidy doesn't know yet. Marcus Hale isn't just investigating Hartwell and Associates, he's trying to bring down the entire company from the inside. And Richard Fletcher's firing, that was just the beginning. Marcus needed someone on the outside, someone motivated, someone who wouldn't ask too many questions. He just didn't expect that person to show up in a wedding dress with revenge on her mind. Life's funny that way. Cassidy wakes up to the smell of coffee and the existential dread of remembering she's married to a man whose motivations she doesn't fully understand. The guest room is flooded with morning light. Those floor-to-ceiling windows don't come with blackout curtains, apparently. And for about 3 seconds, she thinks maybe yesterday was a fever dream. Then she sees the wedding dress draped over the chair in the corner, and reality comes crashing back. She's Mrs. Cassidy Hale now, at least on paper. She finds her phone on the nightstand. 7 missed calls from Marin, 12 texts, and 1 voice message that just says, "Call me back right now or I'm calling the police." Cassidy fires off a quick text. "Still alive, we'll explain later, don't call the police." The response is immediate. "Too late, I already filed a missing persons report." Cassidy stares at the screen. "You did what?" Kidding, but seriously, what the heck happened after the courthouse? Before Cassidy can respond, there's a knock on the door. "You decent?" Marcus's voice muffled through the wood. "Define decent," Cassidy calls back, realizing she's still wearing the slip she had on under the wedding dress. Decent enough to have a conversation about breakfast. She wraps herself in the throw blanket from the bed. "Come in." Marcus opens the door, and I have to give the man credit, he doesn't even glance at her state of undistress. He's already showered and dressed in dark jeans and a gray headley, hair still damp, and he's holding 2 mugs of coffee. "Peace offering?" he says, extending one to her. "Black, because I don't know how you take it yet." "Black's fine." She takes the mug, and the warmth feels good against her hands. "What time is it?" 7:30 in the morning.
Blinks. What kind of person wakes up at 7:30 on a Wednesday? The kind who has a conference call with Tokyo at 8. Marcus leans against the doorframe, cradling his own mug. "But we need to talk first about the fact that your best friend is blowing up your phone. My lawyer is sending increasingly concerned emails, and we have approximately 13 days to become convincing newlyweds." Right, the immigration interview. Cassidy takes a long sip of coffee. It's good coffee, annoyingly good. "What do you suggest?" "Breakfast, then a crash course in each other's lives." He checks his watch. "I can push the Tokyo call to 9. That gives us an hour and a half." An hour and a half to learn everything about each other. Enough to pass an interview. He starts to leave, then turns back. "Oh, and there are clothes in the closet. I had some things delivered this morning." Cassidy sets down her coffee and opens the closet door. Inside, jeans in her size, several tops, a couple of dresses, and she feels her face heat up. Underwear, all still cagged, all from brands she actually wears. "How did you—" she starts to ask, but Marcus is already gone. She showers quickly in the guest bathroom, which is nicer than her entire apartment, and gets dressed in jeans and a soft sweater that fits perfectly, because of course it does. Marcus Hale apparently doesn't do anything halfway. When she emerges, he's in the kitchen plating what looks like actual food. Not cereal, not toast, actual eggs and bacon and fruit. "You cook?" Cassidy slides onto one of the bar stools. "I follow recipes." He sets a plate in front of her. "There's a difference." She takes a bite. "It's good. Why is everything this man does annoyingly competent?" "So," Marcus says, sitting across from her with his own plate, "tell me about Cassidy Fletcher. The real version, not whatever was in that fake profile you submitted. What do you want to know?" "Everything. Where you grew up, what you studied, how you ended up as a freelance designer, your favorite color, whether you're a morning person, spoiler alert, you're not, all of it." Cassidy spears a piece of melon. "That's a lot of questions. We're married. I should probably know more about you than your cousin's hacking skills." "Fair point. Okay." She sets down her fork. "I grew up in White Plains, went to SUNY Purchase for graphic design, started freelancing because the corporate world made me want to throw myself into the Hudson River. My favorite color is navy blue. I'm definitely not a morning person. I drink too much coffee, I listen to true crime podcasts while I work, and I once accidentally adopted a cat because I fed it twice." "Accidentally adopted?" Marcus looks amused. "His name is Potato. He's aggressively mediocre, and I love him." She pauses. "Wait, where is Potato?" "Being cared for by your neighbor. I may have arranged that, too." "You arranged?" Cassidy shakes her head. "Okay, your turn. Tell me about Marcus Hale." He leans back in his chair. "Born in London, moved to New York when I was 12, NYU for undergrad, Columbia for my MBA. I've been at Hartwell for 6 years, made partner at 31, and I've been trying to leave for the last 8 months. Wait, you're trying to leave? Why do you think I need the green card? Hartwell's threatening to revoke my work visa if I quit. They know I have evidence against them, so they're keeping me locked in. He takes a sip of coffee. Classic corporate hostage situation. This is new information, potentially important information. So the marriage isn't just about staying in the country, Cassidy says slowly. It's about getting free from Hartwell. Exactly. Marcus meets her eyes. Once I have permanent residency, they can't touch me. I can walk away, hand everything over to the FBI, and watch the whole company burn. And my father's case is part of that evidence? It's a significant part. Yes. Cassidy processes this. So we both want H. Hartwell to go down. Looks like it. Then we're actually on the same side. Appears that way. Marcus stands and starts clearing the plates. Which brings us to our story. How did we meet? Right, the lie they need to memorize. Coffee shop? Cassidy suggests. Too cliché. Mutual friends. Too easy to verify. Marcus loads the dishwasher with the efficiency of someone who's done it 1,000 times. We need something believable but difficult to fact-check. Cassidy thinks for a moment. What if we met at a work thing? You needed design work for a presentation, found my portfolio online, hired me for a project. Marcus turns to look at her. That's actually not bad. Professional relationship turned personal. We worked together for a few weeks, started grabbing dinner after meetings, realized we had chemistry. She's warming to the idea now. It's boring enough to be believable, and it explains why we moved fast. Whirlwind romance, couldn't wait, all that. Marcus nods. Okay, when did this happen? 4 months ago, Cassidy suggests. Gives us time to have dated and decided to get married. 4 months. I hired you to redesign some pitch materials for a real estate client. Marcus is already building the story. You delivered everything ahead of schedule. I asked you to dinner to celebrate. We went to... where did we go? That Italian place in the West Village, Piccola Cucina. You've been there once? For a friend's birthday? Cassidy grins. But you don't know that. In our story, it was your suggestion. In our story, it was my suggestion, Marcus repeats, and you ordered cacio e pepe. You had the branzino. I hate fish. Then you had the short rib. Cassidy is enjoying this more than she should. And we split a bottle of wine that cost more than my monthly rent. Which wine? I don't know. Something Italian and impressive. Marcus pulls out his phone and types something. Brunello di Montalcino 2015. Good vintage. Expensive enough to show I was trying to impress you. Look at you committing to the bit. If we're going to do this, we're going to do it right. He sets his phone down. What happened after dinner? We walked. Cassidy doesn't know why that feels true, but it does. Through Washington Square Park. You told me about London, I told you about White Plains, and we both agreed that New York at night is overrated, but we love it anyway. Marcus watches her carefully. And that's when we fell in love, over a walk through Washington Square? No, Cassidy shakes her head. That's when we realized we could fall in love. The actual falling came later, when she thinks about it. Second date. We went to the Met. You pretended to know about art. I called you out on it, and instead of getting defensive, you laughed and admitted you just really wanted an excuse to see me again. I would never admit to not knowing about art, Marcus says, but he's smiling now. But I like the rest of it. The Met works because it's huge and public, and nobody's going to remember 2 people who visited 4 months ago. Cassidy is in full planning mode now. Plus, it gives us details to reference. We saw the Vermeer exhibit, had coffee in the cafeteria. You bought me a postcard from the gift shop. Did I? You did, and I still have it. Do you actually have a postcard from the Met? I definitely have a postcard from the Met. No idea where it came from, but I can claim it was from you. Marcus laughs. It's a real laugh this time, not that corporate half smile from yesterday. You're good at this. I had 3 months to plan a fake marriage. I'm good at making things up. Cassidy checks her phone. Your Tokyo call is in 20 minutes, right? He straightens up, shifting back into business mode. We'll keep working on the story tonight. For now, make yourself at home. There's a workspace in the second bedroom if you need it. Wi-Fi password is taped under the router. Very secure. I have layers of security you can't see. He grabs his laptop from the counter. Also, we should probably exchange actual phone numbers, in case immigration calls one of us to verify the other exists.
They swap phones and add each other to contacts. Cassidy saves him as husband with a wedding ring emoji because she needs to see humor in this situation or she'll lose her mind. Marcus sees it when she hands his phone back. Really? What else should I put? Guy I married to ruin, but now we're partners in corporate espionage? Fair point. He types something into his own phone, then shows her. Wife, probably planning my murder. Despite everything, Cassidy cracks up. And that's when it happens, that thing where you make eye contact with someone while you're both laughing, and suddenly the air in the room changes, gets heavier, more charged. Marcus clears his throat first. I should take that call. Yeah, Cassidy looks away. I should check on Potato remotely. Right, Potato, your aggressively mediocre cat. He's sensitive about that description. Marcus heads toward his office, then pauses at the doorway. Cassidy? Yeah? Thanks for going along with this. I know it's not what you signed up for. Neither did you, she points out. True. He taps the doorframe, but I'm starting to think maybe it'll work out anyway. He disappears into his office, and Cassidy is left standing in the kitchen of her fake husband's apartment, wearing clothes he bought her, eating breakfast he made, and wondering when exactly her revenge plot turned into something that feels suspiciously like partnership. Her phone buzzes. Marin, I'm coming over. Cassidy types back. You don't know where I am. Then tell me where you are. Cassidy looks around the apartment, at the wedding dress still in the guest room, at the coffee mug Marcus made for her, at the ring on her finger that belongs to his lawyer. She thinks about the files Marcus sent her, about her father and Hartwell and Associates and their crimes, and she thinks about the way Marcus laughed just now, and how for a second, just a second, it felt like they might actually pull this off. She texts Marin an address. Time to let at least one person in on the truth. In his office, Marcus wraps up his Tokyo call in 15 minutes instead of the scheduled hour. He's distracted, which never happens. He's thinking about the way Cassidy built their fake meet-cute story, how easily she spun details that felt real. He's thinking about how she looked in his kitchen this morning, wrapped in a blanket with terrible bedhead, taking his coffee without complaint. He's thinking about how this was supposed to be a simple transaction, fake wife, real green card, clean exit from Hartwell, and how it's already more complicated than that. His phone pings. An email from his lawyer. Immigration interview scheduled October 24th, 2 weeks from today. Be ready. Marcus forwards it to Cassidy with a message. Game time. Hope you're a good actress. Her response comes back immediately. Hope you are too. He leans back in his chair and stares at the screen. Because here's the thing nobody talks about when you enter a fake marriage. At some point, you have to decide which parts are fake and which parts are starting to feel real. And Marcus Hale, who has built his entire career on keeping things simple and transactional, is beginning to suspect he's in way over his head. Marin arrives exactly 43 minutes later, which means she either broke several traffic laws or teleported from Brooklyn. Cassidy buzzes her up, and the moment the elevator doors open, Marin practically tackles her in the hallway. "Are you insane?" Marin hisses, pulling back to examine Cassidy like she's checking for injuries. "You disappeared with a stranger. You're not answering my calls properly, and now you're texting me some fancy address in Midtown like it's completely normal?" "Come inside," Cassidy says, glancing down the hallway, "and maybe lower your voice before the neighbors think I'm being held hostage." Marin follows her into the apartment and immediately stops dead. Whoa. Yeah, this is... Marin does a slow spin, taking in the floor-to-ceiling windows, the pristine furniture, the view of Central Park. This is where he lives, apparently. And you're living here now, temporarily. Cassidy closes the door. "It's complicated." "Complicated?" Marin whirls around. "Cass, you married a man yesterday to ruin his life. How is living with him anything other than completely unhinged?" Before Cassidy can answer, Marcus's office door opens. He's clearly heard every word. The apartment isn't that big, and he emerges with that same unreadable expression from yesterday. "You must be Marin," he says, extending a hand. "Marcus Hale, the man Cassidy married to ruin." Marin doesn't take his hand. She looks at Cassidy. "Permission to speak freely?" "Always." "What the heck is happening right now?" Cassidy sighs. Coffee first, explanation second. They end up in the living room, Cassidy and Marin on the couch, Marcus in the armchair across from them. Cassidy explains everything. The hack, the switch, the courthouse, and then the bombshell Marcus dropped about her father. Marin listens without interrupting, which is how Cassidy knows she's either processing deeply or planning murder. When Cassidy finishes, Marin turns to Marcus. "Show me the files." "Excuse me?"
The files you claim prove you're not the villain here. Show me. Marcus pulls out his phone, taps a few times, and hands it to Marin. First 3 documents. That should be enough. Marin reads in silence. Her expression shifts from skepticism to concern to something that looks like anger, but not directed at Marcus. These emails, she says slowly, these are from the senior partners at Hartwell? Yes, and they're dated before Richard was fired, 2 weeks before. Marin hands the phone back to Marcus and looks at Cassidy. He's telling the truth, at least about this part. Cassidy feels something tight in her chest loosen. She hadn't realized how much she needed external validation that she wasn't being played again. Okay, Marin says, standing up and starting to pace. Okay, so you're not the bad guy. You're actually trying to take down the people who hurt Cassidy's dad, and you need to stay married to her for 6 months to do it, correct? And Cassidy gets access to all the evidence about her father's case. Also correct. Marin stops pacing and looks between them. This is either the smartest thing you've ever done or the dumbest. I genuinely can't tell which. Join the club, Cassidy mutters. But Marin holds up a finger. If you hurt her, if this is some elaborate con, if you're lying about any of this, you'll do what? Marcus asks, genuinely curious. I have a very particular set of skills. Did you just quote Taken? I did, and I stand by it. Marin crosses her arms. Cassidy is the best person I know. She doesn't deserve to get caught in some corporate warfare because she was trying to help her dad. Something shifts in Marcus's expression. I know she doesn't. The way he says it, quiet, certain, makes Cassidy's stomach do that flipping thing again. Marin must notice too because she gives Cassidy a look that says, we're going to talk about this later. All right, Marin says, sitting back down. I'm officially on board with this insane plan. What do you need from me? Actually, Marcus leans forward, I was hoping you could help with something. Immigration is going to want to see evidence that we're a real couple. Photos, witnesses who can vouch for the relationship, that kind of thing. You want me to lie to federal agents? I want you to confirm that your best friend got married. What they infer from that is their business. Marin looks at Cassidy. He's good at this. I don't know if that's reassuring or terrifying. Both, Cassidy says. Definitely both. Fine, I'll be your witness. Marin pulls out her phone. But first, we need to take some photos, because right now the only picture you have together is probably from the courthouse, and that's not exactly screaming madly in love. She's right. Cassidy hadn't even thought about that. We should look like a couple who's been together for 4 months, Marcus says. Comfortable, natural. Okay, Marin stands up. Cassidy, go stand next to him. Cassidy moves to where Marcus is sitting. He stands, and suddenly they're
very close to each other. Close enough that she can smell his cologne. Something understated and expensive, because, of course it is. Put your arm around her waist, Marin instructs Marcus. He does. His hand is warm through Cassidy's sweater. Cassidy, lean into him a little, like you do this all the time. She does, and here's the weird part. It doesn't feel forced. Marcus adjusts his position slightly so she fits against his side, and it's comfortable, natural even. Marin snaps a few photos. Good. Now, Marcus, look at her like she just said something funny. What did she say? Marcus asks. I don't know. Something about your terrible taste in fish, Cassidy improvises. I already told you I don't like fish. Exactly. It's terrible taste not to like fish. Marcus actually laughs. That real laugh from this morning, and Cassidy grins, and Marin captures it perfectly. Beautiful, Marin says, checking her phone. You two look genuinely happy, which is either great acting or... She doesn't finish the sentence, but Cassidy knows what she's thinking. They take a few more photos, sitting together on the couch, Marcus's arm draped over Cassidy's shoulders, standing by the window with the city behind them, one where Cassidy is laughing at something on Marcus's phone, and he's watching her with this soft expression that makes Cassidy's breath catch when she sees it later. These are perfect, Marin says, scrolling through the results. I'll send them to both of you, and I'll backdate a few to make it look like they're from different occasions. You're surprisingly good at this criminal conspiracy thing, Marcus observes. I work in PR. Same skill set, different application. Cassidy's phone buzzes. Multiple photos from Marin, each one looking more convincing than the last. In some of them, she and Marcus look so much like an actual couple that she has to remind herself it's all pretend.
I should get going, Marin says, gathering her things. But Cass, can I talk to you for a second? Alone. They step into the guest room. Marin closes the door and immediately grabs Cassid's hands. Are you okay? Really okay? I think so, Cassidy says. I know this is wild, but that's not what I'm asking about. Marin squeezes her hands. I'm asking if you're okay with the fact that you're clearly attracted to him. Cassid's face goes hot. I'm not, Cass. I saw the way you looked at him just now, and the way he looked at you. Marin's voice is gentle. There's chemistry there. Real chemistry. And that's going to make the next 6 months either really easy or really complicated. It's just... Cassidy struggles for words. He's not what I expected. He's smart and funny, and he made me breakfast, and he has a cat sitter arranged for Potato. He arranged a cat sitter for your cat without being asked? Okay, yeah, you're in trouble. Marin pulls her into a hug. Just be careful, okay? This situation is already messy. Don't let your heart make it messier. I won't, Cassidy promises, even though she's not entirely sure she can keep it. They walk back out to find Marcus standing by the window, checking his phone. He looks up when they enter. Everything okay? Perfect, Marin says brightly. I was just telling Cassidy that you two should go out this week, get seen together in public, make it real. Marcus looks at Cassidy. You up for a fake date with your fake husband? As long as it doesn't involve fish, she says. Auntie smiles. After Marin leaves, the apartment feels bigger, quieter. Cassidy is suddenly very aware that she's alone with Marcus again. I should get some work done, she says. You mentioned there's a workspace? Second bedroom. I'll show you. The workspace turns out to be exactly what she needs. Desk, good chair, plenty of natural light. Marcus lingers in the doorway. Thank you, Cassidy says, for being cool about Marin coming over. I know this whole thing requires secrecy, but she's your best friend. You need someone in your corner who isn't me. Marcus leans against the doorframe. Besides, she's right. We should be seen together in public, build a trail. Where did you have in mind? There's a work thing Friday night, cocktail party for one of Hartwell's clients. I usually skip them, but, he shrugs, newly married guy probably shouldn't skip them anymore. You want me to meet your coworkers? I want us to be seen together by people who will report back to immigration if asked. He pauses. But yeah, you'll meet my coworkers. Some of them are okay. Most of them are exactly what you'd expect from a corporate law firm. Fantastic, Cassidy says dryly. Wear something nice. I'll handle the rest. Marcus starts to leave, then stops. And Cassidy, your friend is smart. Listen to her. He's gone before she can ask what he means by that. Cassidy sits at the desk and opens her laptop, intending to work on some client projects. Instead, she finds herself opening the files Marcus sent her about her father. The more she reads, the worse it gets. Hartwell and Associates wasn't just doing creative accounting. They were running a full-scale fraud operation. Shell companies, offshore accounts, falsified records, and her father had stumbled onto it completely by accident. The senior partners panicked. They needed him gone before he understood what he'd found. And Marcus had tried to warn him. There are emails here, carefully worded, trying to steer Richard away from certain files without being obvious about it. It didn't work. Richard kept digging, and Marcus couldn't protect him without exposing himself. Cassidy sits back in her chair, processing. She spent 3 months hating Marcus Hale, 3 months planning his downfall, and all that time he was trying to do the exact thing she wanted, bring down the people who hurt her father. Her phone buzzes. A text from Marcus. Forgot to mention, immigration might do a home visit. We should probably make the guest room look less like a guest room and more like we share it. Cassidy stares at the message. She hadn't thought about that. Of course, immigration would want to verify they live together as a married couple. Of course, they'd check for evidence of shared living space. She texts back, "What are you suggesting? We make it look like you sleep in the master bedroom with me. Move some of your things in there. Make it convincing." Her stomach does a complicated flip. "Just for show," he adds. "I'll take the couch or the guest room, but the master bedroom needs to look like it's ours, not mine." "Okay," she types. "That makes sense." It does make sense. It's logical, practical. So why does the idea of her things mixed in with his feel so intimate? She shakes her head. "Focus, Cassidy. This is business, partnership, mutual benefit. It's not real." Except when she looks at the photos Marin took, at the way Marcus is looking at her in that one shot by the window.
It's getting harder to remember that. Marcus sits in his office staring at his computer screen without really seeing it. He's thinking about the way Cassidy fit against his side during those photos, how natural it felt, how easy. He's thinking about her laugh when she made that joke about fish, how it transformed her whole face. He's thinking about the fact that in 2 days he's going to take her to a work event and introduce her as his wife. And part of him, the part he's trying very hard to ignore, is looking forward to it. This was supposed to be simple, transactional, a means to an end. But Cassidy Fletcher is proving to be anything but simple. His phone rings. Unknown number. He almost doesn't answer, but something makes him pick up. Marcus Hale? Mr. Hale, this is Officer Chen from USCIS. I'm calling to schedule your marriage validity interview. Marcus sits up straighter. Of course. We have you down for October 24th at 10 a.m. Will that work for you and your wife? Yes, that works. Perfect. And just to confirm, you've been married for 1 day. That's correct. We had a courthouse ceremony yesterday. Quick turnaround, Officer Chen notes, and Marcus can hear the suspicion in their voice. When you know, Marcus says smoothly. We've been together for 4 months. The marriage was always the plan. We just moved up the timeline. I see. Well, we'll discuss all of that during your interview. Please bring any documentation of your relationship, photos, messages, joint accounts if you have them. We will. And Mr. Hale will be conducting a thorough verification. If there's anything you'd like to disclose now, there isn't, Marcus says firmly. My marriage is legitimate. Good. We'll see you and Mrs. Hale on the 24th. The call ends. Marcus sets down his phone and lets out a long breath. 13 days. That's all they have to make this convincing enough to fool a federal officer trained to spot marriage fraud. He thinks about Cassidy in the next room, reading through files about her father, probably hating Hartwell more with every page. He thinks about how she's trusting him despite every reason not to. He thinks about how this started as a transaction and is rapidly becoming something more complicated. And he thinks, we can do this. We have to. Because if they don't, Cassidy loses her only chance at justice for her father, and Marcus loses his only chance at bringing down Hartwell before they destroy more lives. No pressure. Friday arrives faster than Cassidy would like. She spends most of Thursday moving her things into Marcus's bedroom. Not all of them, just enough to make it look convincing. A few toiletries in the bathroom, some clothes in the closet, her phone charger on the nightstand. Every item she places feels like crossing an invisible line. Marcus, for his part, handles it with his usual efficiency. He clears drawer space, reorganizes the closet, and doesn't make a single comment about the fact that her skincare routine involves approximately 17 products, while his involves exactly 3. Immigration could show up any time in the next 6 months, he explains, moving his laptop bag from the bedroom to his office. We need to be ready. Right, ready. Cassidy arranges her books on the nightstand, a thriller, a design theory text, and a romance novel she'll probably die before admitting she's reading. Marcus notices the romance novel. She can see him noticing, but he doesn't say anything, just moves some of his own books to make more room. That night, Cassidy sleeps in the guest room while her things occupy the master bedroom, and the whole situation feels more absurd than ever. Now it's Friday evening, and she's standing in front of the bathroom mirror trying to decide if this dress is nice cocktail party or trying way too hard. It's a navy blue
Sheath dress, her favorite color as Marcus now knows, that hits just above the knee. Simple, classic, the kind of thing that won't make her stand out but won't make her disappear either. She hears Marcus moving around in the bedroom. He's been in meetings all day, came home with barely enough time to shower and change. Cassidy, his voice through the door. You almost ready? 2 minutes, she calls back. She applies one more coat of mascara, checks her hair one final time, and steps out. Marcus is standing by the window, adjusting his cufflinks, wearing a charcoal suit that probably costs more than her monthly rent. He looks up when she enters, and he stops. Just stops, hand frozen mid-adjustment, and stares. What? Cassidy asks, suddenly self-conscious. Is it too much? Not enough? Should I change? No. His voice comes out rougher than usual. He clears his throat. No, you look perfect. The way he says it makes her stomach flip. You clean up pretty well yourself, she manages. He finishes with the cufflinks and crosses to her. Ready to meet the vipers? Is that what we're calling your coworkers? You'll see why in about 20 minutes. He picks up his keys. Fair warning, they're going to ask invasive questions, make assumptions, and probably try to figure out if you married me for money. Did I? Technically, yes. I'm paying you $50,000, right? Then I married you for money. Cassidy grabs her clutch. What's my cover story when they ask? Tell them you fell for my sparkling personality and devastating good looks. They'll never believe that. Marcus actually grins. Rude. The party is at some rooftop venue in Tribeca. All exposed brick and string lights, and waiters circulating with champagne that probably costs more per glass than Cassidy makes in a day. The moment they step off the elevator, heads turn. Marcus places his hand on the small of Cassid's back, a gesture that's becoming familiar, and guides her into the crowd. Marcus, a woman in her 50s with severe jewelry and a sharper expression, approaches. We weren't expecting you. You usually skip these things. Couldn't miss it this time, Patricia. Marcus's voice shifts into something smoother, more corporate. I wanted to introduce my wife. Patricia's eyebrows shoot up. Your wife? Cassidy Hale. Cassidy extends her hand. Nice to meet you. Patricia shakes it, but her eyes are already calculating. Delightful. I didn't realize you were seeing anyone, Marcus. I keep my personal life private, Marcus says easily. Clearly. Patricia turns her attention fully to Cassidy. What do you do, dear? I'm a graphic designer, freelance. How creative. The way Patricia says it suggests she thinks creative is code for unemployed. And how did you two meet? Here we go. The story they practiced. Marcus hired me for a project, Cassidy says. I delivered ahead of schedule. He took me to dinner to celebrate, and we realized we had more in common than just work. A project, Patricia looks at Marcus. What kind of project requires a freelance designer? Pitch materials for the Meridian deal, Marcus says, without hesitation. Cassidy redesigned the entire presentation. It's part of why we landed the account. This is news to Cassidy, but she keeps her expression neutral. Marcus is improvising, building on their fake story with real details from his work. I see. Patricia's smile doesn't reach her eyes. Well, congratulations on your marriage. When was the wedding? Tuesday, Marcus says. This Tuesday? Patricia's voice goes up half an octave. You got married 3 days ago? We did. That's quite sudden. When you know, Cassidy says, echoing the line Marcus used with the immigration officer. Patricia looks like she wants to say more, but another group of people approaches, and Marcus smoothly extracts them from the conversation. That went well, Cassidy mutters as they move toward the bar. Patricia's the worst of them. If we can handle her, we can handle anyone. Marcus orders 2 drinks, whiskey for him, wine for her, which he somehow knows she prefers. Next up will be the junior partners. They'll be friendlier but nosier. He's right. For the next hour, they're bombarded with questions disguised as congratulations. Where did you get married? How long have you been together? Are you planning a honeymoon? What does your family think? Cassidy and Marcus answer everything with practiced ease, their story getting smoother with each retelling. At some point, his hand finds hers, fingers interlacing, and she's not sure if it's for show or if it just happened naturally. They're talking to a group of associates when Cassidy notices a man watching them from across the room. Late 30s, expensive suit, expression that radiates entitled smug. Who's that? She asks Marcus quietly. Marcus follows her gaze and his whole body tenses. That's Gregory Walsh, senior partner. The one who orchestrated your father's firing. Cassid's grip on the wineglass tightens. She spent 3 months hating Marcus, but the real villain has been right there the whole time, and now he's walking towards them. Marcus. Gregory's voice is smooth as silk and twice as fake. Heard you got married. Didn't think you had it in you. Gregory. Marcus's tone is carefully neutral. This is my wife, Cassidy. Charmed. Doesn't offer to shake hands. Quite the surprise, Marcus. Getting married. We all thought he was married to his work. People change, Cassidy says, keeping her voice pleasant even though she wants to throw her drink in his face. Indeed. Gregory's eyes travel over her in a way that makes her skin crawl. And what do you do, Cassidy? I'm a designer. How quaint. He turns back to Marcus. We should talk Monday about the Hartwell expansion. There are some documents that need your signature. I'll check my calendar, Marcus says. Make time. It's not a suggestion. Gregory's smile doesn't waver, but the threat is clear. It's important. He walks away, and Cassidy feels Marcus's hand tighten around hers. "That's him," she says quietly. "That's the man who destroyed my dad. Yes, I want to destroy him back." "Get in line." Marcus takes a long drink of his whiskey. "But we have to be smart about it. Gregory doesn't go down easy. Good thing we have 6 months to work on it." Marcus looks at her, something shifting in his expression. "You know what? I need some air. Come with me." They slip away from the party, finding a quieter corner of the rooftop where the music is just background noise, and the city spreads out below them like a constellation. Cassidy leans against the railing, breathing in the cool October air. "That was exhausting." "You did great." Marcus stands beside her, close enough that their shoulders almost touch. "Patricia's going to tell everyone that I married some mysterious woman nobody's heard of, and by Monday the whole firm will be speculating. Is that good or bad?" "Good. Makes it more believable." He pauses. "You okay? Seeing Gregory, I mean?" "I wanted to punch him." "Understandable. But I smiled and played the role instead." "That's how you win." Marcus turns to face her. "Gregory thinks he's untouchable, but every untouchable person has a weakness. We just have to find his." Cassidy meets his eyes. "We're really going to do this? Take down an entire firm of corrupt lawyers?" "Unless you want to back out." "Do I seem like someone who backs out?" "No." Marcus smiles. "You seem like someone who breaks into federal databases and crashes weddings in borrowed dresses. Backing out doesn't fit the profile." "Exactly." They stand there in silence, the city humming below them, and Cassidy realizes something. She likes this, being partners with Marcus, having someone who understands what she's trying to do and actually has the resources to help her do it. "Can I ask you something?" she says. "Sure." "Why are you really doing this? Taking down Hartwell, I mean. You could just leave, get your green card, and disappear." Marcus is quiet for a moment. "My first year at Hartwell, I worked on a case. Small business owner being sued by a corporate client. It was clear the corporation was in the wrong, but they had money and lawyers, and they were going to win anyway." He stares out at the skyline. "The business owner was this woman in her 60s who'd built her company from nothing. She was going to lose everything. I found evidence that could save her case, and I took it to the senior partners. What did they do? They buried it. Told me that's not how we win cases. That's not what the client pays us for." Marcus's jaw tightens. The woman lost. Her business closed, and I just kept working there. Kept taking their money, kept telling myself I'd leave eventually. "But you didn't." "No, because they made it impossible. The visa requirements, the non-compete clauses, the way they structured everything to keep me trapped." He finally looks at her. "So yeah, I could get my green card and leave. But that doesn't fix anything. People like Gregory would still be out there destroying lives because they can." Cassidy understands now, really understands. This isn't just about the green card. No, it's about making sure they can't do to anyone else what they did to you and my father and that business owner. Yes, she reaches out and takes his hand, not for show this time, just because she wants to. "Then let's burn it down," she says. Marcus's fingers curl around hers. Together. Together. And right there, on a rooftop in Tribeca with a corporate party happening behind them and the entire city spread out below them, something shifts. The partnership becomes something deeper. The fake marriage feels less fake. Cassidy doesn't know exactly when it happened. Maybe during the photo session with Marin, maybe over breakfast conversations, maybe in the accumulated small moments of the past few days. But somewhere along the way, she stopped seeing Marcus as a means to an end and started seeing him as Marcus. "We should get back," Marcus says, but he doesn't move. "Probably," Cassidy agrees, but she doesn't move either. They stand there for another minute, hands linked, both aware that something just changed and neither quite ready to name it. Finally, Marcus squeezes her hand and steps back. "Come on, let's give Patricia something else to gossip about." They return to the party, and for the rest of the evening, Cassidy notices something. Marcus is different with her than he is with everyone else. The corporate mask slips when he looks at her. His smile becomes real. His laugh becomes genuine, and she wonders if he realizes it.
Elevator. "Leaving so soon?" he asks. "Early morning," Marcus says smoothly. "Of course." Gregory's eyes flick to Cassidy, then back to Marcus. "Be careful, Marcus. Mixing personal and professional can get messy." "Is that a threat?" "It's advice from a colleague." Gregory smiles. "Have a good weekend." The elevator doors close, and Cassidy lets out a breath she didn't know she was holding. "He knows," she says. "He suspects," Marcus corrects. "There's a difference." "What do we do?" "We stay the course, be the perfect married couple, give immigration 0 reasons to doubt us." Marcus pulls out his phone, and we dig deeper into Gregory's files.
If he's threatening us, it means we're getting close to something he wants to keep hidden. The car ride home is quiet. Cassidy stares out the window, processing the evening, meeting Patricia, seeing Gregory, the moment on the rooftop with Marcus. When they get back to the apartment, Marcus loosens his tie and heads toward his office. I have some work to finish. You can take the master bedroom tonight. I'll crash on the couch. Marcus, Cassidy says, stopping him. Thank you. For what? For tonight. For backing me up with your coworkers. For... She struggles to find the words. For not making me feel like I'm in this alone. Something softens in his expression. You're not alone. That's the whole point of being married, right? Even fake married, right? Fake married. They stand there in the hallway, neither quite ready to say goodnight, both aware that the definition of fake is getting blurrier by the day. Finally, Marcus clears his throat. Good night, Cassidy. Good night, Marcus. She goes to the master bedroom, her bedroom now, at least for appearance's sake, and changes out of the dress. When she's in sweats and an old college t-shirt, she notices Marcus's laptop bag in the corner. Next to it, his coffee mug from this morning, his watch on the dresser, his life, tangible and real, mixing with hers in ways that feel less temporary than they should. She climbs into his bed. Their bed, she corrects herself for the sake of the cover story, and stares at the ceiling. 13 days until the immigration interview. 13 days to make their story so convincing that a trained federal officer believes they're in love. The problem is that Cassidy's starting to think the convincing part won't be the hard part. The hard part will be remembering it's supposed to be fake. Down the hall, Marcus sits in his office staring at his computer screen without seeing it. He's thinking about the way Cassidy looked in that dress, the way she handled Patricia and Gregory with grace and steel, the way she took his hand on the rooftop and said, "Let's burn it down," like she meant it. He's thinking about how she looked at him when he told her about the business owner, like she understood, like it mattered. He's thinking about how he came into this needing a green card and an exit strategy, and somehow ended up with a partner who makes him want to be better than he is. His phone buzzes. Email from Officer Chen at USCIS. Reminder, interview scheduled for October 24th. Please ensure both parties are present and prepared for questioning. Marcus forwards it to Cassidy with a message. Game FaceTime? You ready? Her response comes immediately. Born ready. Also, your bed is really comfortable. He laughs before he can stop himself, then types back, "It's our bed now. Might as well enjoy it." The 3 dots appear, disappear, appear again. Finally, "Good night, husband." Marcus stares at that word. Husband. He's been called a lot of things in his 33 years, but that's a new one. And the strangest part? He kind of likes it. The next 12 days pass in a blur of choreographed intimacy. They have breakfast together every morning. Marcus makes coffee, Cassidy burns toast. They split the newspaper and argue about politics in a way that feels more like flirting than fighting. They go out for dinner 3 times, making sure to pick restaurants in their neighborhood where people might remember seeing them. They hold hands across tables. They share desserts. They laugh at each other's jokes in a way that stops being performance. Around day 4, Marin comes over twice more, takes more photos, and gives Cassidy increasingly pointed looks that say, "I told you this would get complicated." Cassidy ignores her, mostly because Marin is right. On day 6, Marcus comes home with a folder of new evidence against Hartwell. They spend the evening on the couch going through documents, building their case. At some point, Cassidy's head ends up on his shoulder. At some point, his arm ends up around her waist. Neither of them mentions it. On day 9, they practice for the immigration interview. Marcus fires questions at a rapid fire. What side of the bed does your husband sleep on? What's his morning routine? What does he eat for breakfast? How does he take his coffee? Cassidy answers every single one correctly. Then she asks him the same questions about her, and he doesn't miss a beat. "When's my birthday?" she challenges. "August 7th, he says immediately. "You'll be 29. You want to do something low-key but meaningful. You hate surprise parties but love surprise gifts. And you've been dropping hints about wanting to go to that new exhibit at the MoMA." Cassidy stares at him. "I mentioned that exhibit once in passing 2 weeks ago?" I pay attention. Shrugs, but there's something vulnerable in his expression. That's kind of the whole point, isn't it? Right, the point. Cassidy looks away. For the interview.
For the interview, Marcus agrees, but his voice is quieter than before. On day 11, Cassidy wakes up in the master bedroom. She's been sleeping there for appearances and finds Marcus asleep on the couch in the living room. He fell asleep reading through Hartwell files, laptop still open on the coffee table, glasses slightly askew. She should wake him up, tell him to go to bed properly. Instead, she gets a blanket and drapes it over him, carefully removes his glasses, closes the laptop. He stirs slightly, mumbles something that sounds like her name, and settles back into sleep. Cassidy stands there for a moment, watching him, and thinks, "I'm in so much trouble now." Now it's day 12, October 24th, interview day. Cassidy stands in front of the bathroom mirror, trying to decide if she looks like someone who's genuinely married or someone who's about to commit federal fraud. "You look fine," Marcus says from the doorway. She jumps. "How long have you been standing there?" "Long enough to watch you change your earrings 3 times. He walks in, adjusts his tie in the mirror beside her. "They're just earrings, Cassidy. They're not just earrings. They're, are we convincing as a married couple earrings? Wear the blue ones. They match your eyes." She looks at him in the mirror. "You know what color my eyes are. I know everything about you. That's literally the entire point of today." But the way he says it, looking at her reflection with this soft expression, that's not about the interview. Cassidy puts on the blue earrings. The USCIS office is in Federal Plaza, all institutional furniture and fluorescent lighting, and the distinct atmosphere of bureaucratic intimidation. They sit in the waiting room, hands linked on the armrest between them. Marcus's thumb traces small circles on her palm, a gesture that's become habit over the past 2 weeks. "Relax," he murmurs. "We've got this." Easy for you to say. You negotiate million-dollar deals for a living, and you hacked a federal database. I think you'll manage. Despite her nerves, Cassidy almost laughs. "Mr. and Mrs. Hale?" A woman in her 40s appears holding a clipboard. "I'm Officer Chen. Please follow me." They're led to a small interview room, table, 3 chairs, recording equipment in the corner. It feels less like a meeting and more like an interrogation. Officer Chen settles into her chair and opens a thick folder. "Let's begin. Mr. Hale, can you tell me when and where you and Mrs. Hale first met?" Marcus doesn't hesitate. 4 months ago, I hired Cassidy to redesign presentation materials for a client pitch. She freelances as a graphic designer. And how did a professional relationship become personal? "I was impressed with her work," Marcus says. "We started having dinner after meetings, realized we had a lot in common beyond just business." Officer Chen makes a note. "Mrs. Hale, what attracted you to your husband?" Cassidy takes a breath. Here's where she either sells this or crashes it. "Honestly, I didn't like him at first." She feels Marcus tense beside her, but continues. "He was all business, very formal. I thought he was going to be another corporate type who treats freelancers like disposable labor." "But," Officer Chen prompts, "but he wasn't. He respected my work, asked for my opinion, and when we had dinner that first time, he let his guard down a little. I saw this whole other side of him, funny, thoughtful, genuinely interested in things beyond work." She glances at Marcus. "That's who I fell for, not the corporate lawyer, the person underneath." Officer Chen watches them both. "Mr. Hale, same question. What attracted you to Cassidy?" Marcus's answer comes quietly. "She challenged me, called me out when I was being too corporate, too cautious. She made me laugh when I'd forgotten how." He looks at Cassidy. "She reminded me that there's more to life than work and winning cases. That's not something I knew I needed until I met her." The room feels suddenly smaller, warmer. Officer Chen flips through her notes. "You got married very quickly, only 4 months of dating. Why the rush?" "I'm not getting any younger," Marcus says. "When you find the right person, waiting doesn't make sense." "And your visa situation had nothing to do with it?" "My visa situation made the timeline more urgent," Marcus admits, "but it's not why I married Cassidy. I married her because I wanted to build a life with her." Officer Chen turns to Cassidy. "And you're aware of the penalties for marriage fraud, up to 5 years in prison and $250,000 fine?" Cassidy's heart hammers. "I'm aware. Yet you married a man you'd known for only 4 months who happens to need a green card urgently." "I married a man I love," Cassidy says. "And the crazy thing is, The way her voice catches, the way she automatically reaches for Marcus's hand, it doesn't feel like a lie. The timing wasn't perfect, but the feeling was real. Officer Chen studies them both. Then she pulls out a stack of photos. Let's talk about your relationship. Where were these taken? For the next hour, she grills them about the photos Marin took, about their apartment, about their daily routines.
About Marcus's coffee order and Cassidy's morning habits, and what side of the bed they each sleep on. They answer everything perfectly because they've been living it, because over the past 2 weeks, the fake marriage became real life. Mr. Hale, Officer Chen says suddenly, what's your wife's middle name? Rose, Marcus answers immediately, after her grandmother. Mrs. Hale, what does your husband do when he's stressed? He reorganizes things. Bookshelves, kitchen cabinets, his desk. He needs control when everything else feels chaotic. Cassidy pauses, and he runs usually, early morning before work. Officer Chen makes another note. How do you handle disagreements? We talk, Marcus says. Cassidy doesn't let me shut down or retreat into work mode. She makes me actually communicate. And he doesn't let me avoid confrontation, Cassidy adds. I tend to bottle things up. He calls me on it. Give me an example of a recent disagreement. Cassidy thinks. Last week, Marcus wanted to order dinner from this place he likes. I wanted to cook. We went back and forth for 20 minutes. How was it resolved? We compromised. I cooked, he cleaned up, and then we ordered dessert from his place. Cassidy smiles at the memory, because apparently I can't make decent brownies to save my life. You burned them once? 3 times? I burned them 3 times. Marcus laughs, and it's so genuine that even Officer Chen's expression softens slightly. More questions, more details, more moments where Cassidy forgets this is an interview and just talks about her life with Marcus. Finally, Officer Chen closes her folder. All right, I have what I need for now. For now? Cassidy asks. We may conduct a home visit within the next 6 months to verify your living situation. You'll be notified in advance. She stands. You should receive a decision on the green card application within 4 to 6 weeks. That's it? Marcus asks. That's it, unless you'd like to confess to marriage fraud right now. Officer Chen's expression is unreadable. No confession necessary, Marcus says smoothly, because there's no fraud. They're dismissed. They walk out of the building in silence, not speaking until they're a block away. Then Cassidy stops in the middle of the sidewalk. Did we just pass? I think so. We convinced a federal officer that we're actually married, apparently. Marcus runs a hand through his hair. Either we're really good actors, or... He doesn't finish the sentence, doesn't need to. Or it's not acting anymore. They look at each other, standing on a random Manhattan sidewalk in the middle of a Friday morning, both aware that something fundamental just shifted. We should celebrate, Marcus says finally. Yeah. You just survived your first federal interview. That deserves recognition. They end up at a diner 2 blocks from the apartment. Nothing fancy, just coffee and pancakes, and the kind of comfortable silence that comes from knowing someone well enough that you don't need to fill every moment with conversation. Can I ask you something? Cassidy says, drowning her pancakes in syrup. Sure. Back in the interview, when you said I reminded you there's more to life than work, she looks up. Did you mean that, or was that just for Officer Chen? Marcus sets down his coffee. What do you think? I think... Cassidy struggles for words. I think this stopped being fake a while ago. For me, anyway. There it is, out in the open. The truth neither of them has been willing to say. Marcus is quiet for a moment. Then, you want to know when I knew. Knew what? That this wasn't fake anymore. He meets her eyes. Day 9. We were practicing for the interview and you got this question wrong. What's my favorite movie? You said The Godfather, because that's what every corporate lawyer is supposed to say. What is it actually? Before Sunrise. I'm a romantic, apparently. Who knew? He smiles. But you got frustrated with yourself for not knowing, said you should pay better attention, and I realized you actually cared, not because you needed to pass the interview, because you genuinely wanted to know me. Cassidy's throat feels tight. That's when I knew I was in trouble. He reaches across the table, takes her hand. Because I didn't want a fake wife anymore. I wanted you. The diner disappears, the city disappears, everything disappears except Marcus looking at her like she's the only person in the world. "So what do we do?" Cassidy asks. "We have 6 months of this arrangement. Then what?" "Then we decide if we want to renegotiate the terms." "What kind of terms?" "The kind where we stop calling this fake." His thumb traces circles on her palm again. "The kind where I don't sleep on the couch anymore." "Marcus, I know it's complicated. We started this for the wrong reasons, but—" He squeezes her hand. "I don't care how it started. I care where it's going." Cassidy should be scared. This is happening too fast, too intense. They'd barely know each other. Except they do know each other. She knows he reorganizes when stressed, and runs in the morning, and secretly loves romantic movies. She knows he drinks his coffee black, and hates fish, and keeps every promise he makes. She knows he's brilliant and damaged, and trying to do the right thing even when it costs him. She knows him. "Okay," Cassidy says. Okay, let's see where this goes." Cassidy smiles. "But we're taking it slow. Real slow."
Slow. Like actually dating slow. We're already married. Then we'll date backwards. Dinner, movies, all of it. Do this the right way." Marcus laughs. "You want to date your husband? I want to date you. The real you. Not the corporate lawyer. Not the guy trying to take down Hartwell. Just Marcus." Something in his expression cracks open. "I can do that." They finish breakfast, walk home hand in hand, and when they get back to the apartment, Marcus kisses her for the first time, soft and careful, and nothing like the rushed courthouse ceremony. "First kiss," he murmurs against her lips. "Only took us 2 weeks of marriage. Better late than never." They spend the weekend actually dating. Marcus takes Cassidy to the MoMA exhibit she wanted to see. They get dinner at a hole-in-the-wall Thai place. They watch Before Sunrise on the couch, and Cassidy understands why it's his favorite. Monday morning, Marcus goes to work with a new determination. He has a green card application pending, a wife who's become his partner in every sense, and evidence against Hartwell that's finally ready to deploy. He meets with his lawyer, files everything with the FBI, hands over 6 years of meticulously documented corporate fraud. By Tuesday afternoon, federal agents are raiding Hartwell and Associates. By Wednesday, Gregory Walsh is in custody. By Friday, the entire senior partnership is under investigation. Marcus's green card is approved 4 weeks later. The marriage, which started as fraud, is verified as legitimate, because somewhere between the fake dates and practiced stories, it became real. 6 months later, Cassidy's working at her desk in the second bedroom when Marcus comes home early. "What are you doing here?" she asks, looking up from her laptop. "You have that deposition at 3 postponed." He leans against the doorframe. "I have something more important to do." "What's that?" He pulls a small box from his pocket, opens it. Inside, a ring not borrowed from his lawyer, actually hers. "I know we're already married," Marcus says, "but we did everything backwards, so I'm asking properly this time." He drops to one knee. "Cassidy Fletcher Hale, will you marry me for real this time?" Cassidy's eyes fill with tears. "We're already married, you ridiculous man." "So, is that a yes?" "It's been a yes since the day you made me breakfast and arranged a cat sitter for Potato." She slides out of her chair, drops to her knees in front of him. Yes, 1,000 times yes. He slips the ring on her finger, right above the borrowed one she never took off, and kisses her like they have all the time in the world, because they do. They're married for real this time, and the best part? It started with revenge, moved through fraud, and ended in love. Marin was right. This was either the smartest thing Cassidy ever did or the dumbest. Turns out, it was both. Epilogue. 1 year later, the Hartwell case makes national news. Gregory Walsh and 4 other senior partners are convicted of fraud, money laundering, and conspiracy. Richard Fletcher's name is cleared. He gets a settlement large enough to retire comfortably. Marcus leaves corporate law entirely, opens his own firm focused on representing whistleblowers and small businesses. Cassidy designs all his marketing materials. They renew their vows in a real ceremony. Marin is maid of honor. Potato walks down the aisle as ring bearer, because why not? They never do figure out who sent that first email to the FBI, the anonymous tip that started the Hartwell investigation. But Cassidy has her suspicions. Sometimes the best revenge is building something better than what they tried to destroy. And sometimes the best love stories start with a lie and end with truth. Marcus and Cassidy got both. Not bad for a fake marriage that became the realest thing in their lives. The end. Told you it was going to get interesting. Thanks for sticking around. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have a wedding to attend. Again, this time with actual cake that Cassidy didn't burn. Progress.